kill, burn! Maim, kill, burn!
Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of Quick and Dirty, the series where I show you how to quickly paint your minis to tabletop standard. I'm your host, the Happy Heretic, and I've been painting minis off and on since I was about 12 years old. Now, part of the monster haul of Star Wars Legion minis that I got as a birthday present from my lovely wife was a unit of Imperial Royal Guard. These are the red-robed bodyguards who protected none other than Emperor Palpatine himself, yet were inexplicably absent when Darth Vader decided to give the Emperor an impromptu flying lesson in the middle of the Death Star. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, I have zero plans to use these guys in my Rogue One themed Scarif Defense Force. They just don't fit with the aesthetic that I'm going for with that particular army. They do, however, look really freaking cool, and I thought they'd be a fun little project for the channel. And it also helps that I had a fun and quick paint scheme planned out for these guys already. It was something that I felt would match the grimdark aesthetic that my work tends to take on, while also being quick, easy, and fun to paint. First thing I had to do was build and paint the base. I didn't want to give them the same base as the rest of my Scarif troops because honestly I didn't think it was appropriate to have the personal guard of the Emperor slogging through the mud and sand with the rest of the grunts. So I went ahead and created a base that was reminiscent of the Death Star. I simply cut out some pieces of cardboard from the box that they came in, glued them onto the base, and cut it to shape with scissors and my hobby knife. Once I did that, I dry brushed the base with some lead belcher and some Army Painter Shining Silver. Once that was done, I went in and painted a black line in the groove running down the center of the base. With the base finished, I turned my attention to my first Royal Guardsman. I started out by spray painting him black with some rust-oleum 2X paint and primer. Now I have to admit, I'm loving this stuff more and more each time I use it, and while it does take a little bit of getting used to and a little bit of skill to use, it is a great alternative to the more expensive Citadel primers out there. It also does take a bit to dry, but once it does, you get a pretty solid base to build a paint job off of. Now once I had him primed and dry, I gave him a very heavy dry brush with some Army Painter Pure Red, which is what I'm doing right here. With the robe and cloak done, I turned my attention to the metal bits on the mini. First thing I did was I base coated the helm and mask with some of Citadel's lead belcher. I also base coated the blaster and the force pike with the lead belcher. Once the metal bits were base coated, I then used a mix of 2 parts of Citadel's Lamian Medium to 1 part Blood Angel's Red contrast paint to paint the red on the helm and the mask. Now it's important to pay attention when you're using contrast paints, as you can get some weird pooling in areas you don't want. Don't panic if you do, just use your brush to soak up the excess and move on. The mix I used was a bit watery, so it did take 2 thin coats to get the deep red metallic color that I wanted. While the helm dried, I went ahead and washed the blaster and the force pike with some basilicanum gray. I really do like the dark metal color that this gives you, and I think it fits really, really well with the Imperial aesthetic. Next, I glued the guardsman to his base and proceeded to lay down a few highlights on the metal bits with some Army Painter Shining Silver. After that, I painted the rim of the base with some Army Painter Matte Black. Now at this point, the helm and the mask, they were looking pretty dull, so I applied some Army Painter Gloss Varnish to give it a real shiny look, similar to what you would see in the movies. And then I went back and hit the rest of the mini with some Citadel Storm Shield Varnish just to protect the paint job from my nasty sticky fingers. And with that, our quick and dirty, slightly grimdark Imperial Royal Guardsman is finished. Took me about an hour to paint this guy up, and you could easily knock out an entire unit to tabletop standard using this paint scheme in just a few hours. Now, I could go back and do more to this mini, like punching up the highlights to make it look a bit more vibrant, and I probably will do that at some point. Honestly, though, I'm really happy with him the way he is now. He's definitely painted to tabletop standard and would look pretty neat on the battlefield with his buddies, and who knows, maybe I will end up using these guys to crack some rebel skulls in the future. Anyway, that's all for this video. If you liked what you saw, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Both of those things help me out quite a bit, and I will see you all next time.